On this episode of the WWIA Podcast, WWIA Founder and CEO John McDaniel sits down for a conversation with WWIA team member Corrina Hart. Corrina's been with WWIA for 10 years as their logistics coordinator and hero engagement specialist, ensuring the foundation's operations run smoothly and provide the best services possible to the Purple Heart recipients they proudly serve. She's the daughter of a 100% disabled Vietnam veteran who succumbed to his wounds in June of 2009 and sister of a career Air Force senior NCO retired. An accomplished sportsman herself, having owned and operated a hunting and fishing guide service for nearly 10 years, Corrina has an intimate understanding of what's entailed in making our events successful. She's honored to have such a critical role in an organization that gives so much back to our wounded veterans. In addition to her work with WWIA, Corrina is a retired volunteer firefighter EMT, currently residing in Idaho. She enjoys hunting, fishing, camping, and spending time with her daughter and grandson. Let's join John and Corrina now.
Okay, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. My name is John McDaniel, and I am the founder and CEO of the Wounded Warriors in Action Foundation, and this is our podcast, Honor, Connect, and Heal. And today, which is the 9th of June, 2022, I have the distinct pleasure and honor of having with me Corrina Hart here in the studio, which is actually my office in Brandon, Florida, at the WWIA headquarters. But Corrina's with us. She traveled all the way from Idaho to be with us here. She does this once a year, comes to the headquarters and kind of gets connected with the other employees that she works remotely with routinely. And so Corrina she's celebrating her 10th year with the foundation. Outside of me, she's the most tenured player that we have, employee that we have. And she's celebrating her 10th year with the foundation, which is amazing to me. So welcome, Corrina.
Thank you.
How are you?
I'm good.
Good. And so you and I are going to go fishing tomorrow.
Yes.
Yeah. And Corrina's a big time, can I say, is it fisherwoman or fisher
I'm a
person?
fisherman. It's just
fisherman.
Yeah.
All right, excellent. And she's a wonderful sportsman, and I know she loves to fish. So we're going to take the skiff out tomorrow. I wish we could talk about maybe we'll do a follow up if we have a great day or something like this. We can maybe finish it out. But anyway, so I wanted to introduce you real quick, okay? And then we'll ask you a few questions about your job, and you can tell us a little bit more about yourself, which I'm sure folks are wanting to know, because there's a whole nation of Purple Heart recipients out there that have most of whom, but many of whom you've talked to personally and put on these world-class outdoor sporting events, and you've developed relationships with them, especially the guides. And I want to talk about the guides and your relationship and your perspective on those wonderful Americans, but also the hosts. You deal with all of the hosts across the country. So I want to talk about that as well, or have you chat about that. But I think we first met it would have been about
June of 2012.
June of 2012. There you have it, sports fans. Wow. Okay, so that's your 10 years. You're right on it. And so let me just brag on Corrina a little bit. Yeah, it was an icebreaker. But you do an amazing job. I hear it all the time. I hear it from the heroes. I hear it from the hosts. I hear it from community members. And as your boss, I tell you, it feels really good when you hear from others about people that are working for you or with you, and how well they're doing. And I read about it, I hear about it. People go out of their way to tell me about it. So I just wanted to say, publicly, thank you for all your hard work and what you do. This is a people-oriented business that we're in, serving our nation's combat wounded. So I just want to first just say thanks for all your hard work and the impact that you have personally have made on many, many lives.
Thank you for that. It's a pleasure. I enjoy it very much.
Yeah. You were saying we were chatting off mic here a little bit earlier about, you posted something on Facebook and about your 10-year reunion, and it just like blew up. And like lots of people are liking it and making comments, and that's another example of it. If you weren't doing a good job, well, one, you wouldn't be sitting in that chair right there, but two, people wouldn't say things. They would say things, but it wouldn't be good things, right?
True.
So let's just get right into it, because I wanted to say that I'm familiar with what you do, because I when we were starting the foundation, 16 years ago, I was the guy that was dialing for dollars. Of course, there weren't that many heroes to pick up the phone and call at the time. Now we have, something like 1,500 or something like that in our database, and 40 some odd, missions across the country. And your job is to essentially pick up the phone or get on email or both and engage the heroes. That's part of your job. You're a hero engagement specialist, and the other side is the logistics coordinator, right?
Right.
So I want to talk about both of those things. I want to talk first about, your experience just as, the hero engagement specialist. Because at the end of the day, from my perspective, or at least when I was doing the job, I used to call it the call down, or the dial for dollars, or, whatever. But, as a business guy, I'm like, ABC, right? Always got to be closing. And so you get somebody on the line, right? And I don't really, I don't really want to go to Mississippi and do, frog gigging or something like that. I don't know. Or I can't imagine somebody saying I don't want to go to anywhere, but, I don't want to go to British Columbia and hunt bear. It's just not my thing. Well, you got them on the line. You go, well, let me talk to you about this, that, and the other thing, right? Get this person committed to an event. So, now that you got them on the line. So it's just like always be closing. That was my perspective when I was doing it. But when I was doing it, there wasn't that many heroes, and there weren't that many opportunities. So my job wasn't nearly as complex as yours is today. But tell us about, give us a snapshot in the day life and the day of, and we'll get to the logistics coordinator piece here in a minute. But what's your life like when you're dialing for dollars?
Well, I do call it the call down, because there's no dollars, but I don't know what that means. But so yeah, some days are on the phone all day, calling, leaving voicemails, never talking to anybody and waiting for the call back. Some days I'm talking to guys all day long. I might have 4 spots on an event, and I might talk to 100 guys to get those spots filled.
Yeah.
Because they can't do it. They got family. I mean, people have lives, right?
Yeah.
They're not just waiting for me to call and say, hey, you want to go? Even though it's a great opportunity.
Even though we'd like to think they're all sitting by the phone waiting for us to call.
Now, of course, I do have those. Now that I've been doing this so long, all the guys for the last 10 years that we've served, they know my name, and a lot of them have me in their phone. So
speed dial.
Yeah, so I call them, and they're like, hey, Corrina, what's going on?
Yeah.
Because they know.
They'll answer that
they
call.
They know something's coming.
Right.
But yeah, no, it's great. Some of those calls are short and sweet. It's 5 minutes. Hey, you want to go fishing in Mississippi for some reds? And they go, yeah, right on. Cool. I get their information, and away they go. Yeah. And some guys want to chat for an hour, and I don't, either way works for me. Yeah. So I love it.
That's cool.
Having those conversations.
Yeah.
So I've gotten to know over 10 years, like, I feel like I really know a huge portion of that population. Yeah. And it's just amazing. I love talking to them and hearing about how their kids have grown and they've gotten married, and,
I can see it. I can see it in your eyes. I know that. I mean, it's meaningful to you, and that's, that's impressive, because a lot of people would just take it as a job, and this work, helping heal our nation's combat wounded, through the power of the great outdoors. It's not, it's not like you can just take a pill. I mean, that's what they get when they go to the VA. They get shots, they get operations, they get medication. What we're doing, a large part of what we're doing is, I think, we talk about honor, connect, and heal, right? They're very powerful but very telling words, like this idea of connect, right? Of course, we're honoring them by providing a all expense paid world-class outdoor sporting activity. That's one piece, but when they get on the ground, I mean, they're honored by the hosts, they're honored by the guide, they're honored by the community, who just wants to express their thanks for what they're doing. So there's that piece, but the connect piece, right? I mean, that's a huge part of it. And so let's think about all the ways that they're connecting just for a second. I mean, just pulling this rabbit out of a hat here, but now that we're on the topic, I mean, they're first connecting with you. They've connected with the foundation because they got online and fill out an application, but then they're going to get a telephone call and you're going to engage them, right? So there's a connection there. And then many of them stay connected to you because they see you as the proverbial belly button to the organization and to more I'm going to say it's like another opportunity or another, dosage, a WWIA dosage, I mean, we're trying to serve these guys and gals, every couple of years, that's our objective every 2-3 years to get them another opportunity. But so they're connecting with you, with the foundation, they're connecting with you, and then they get on the event and they connect with their fellow combat wounded and they connect with the host, who, oh, by the way, is a volunteer and who we vet and who we help shape the operations that they conduct. Okay, so they're connecting with that host and their family and the other heroes and the community and the organization, right? So there's lots of, we used to call it, connective tissue, right? I mean, there's lots of, connectivity there. Honor, connect, and then heal. You say, well, the power of the great outdoors, and then, there's this layering effect. At the end of the day, I mean, these guys and gals went out and bled in boots that were issued to them by the United States government, in a uniform that was issued to them by the United States government. And they didn't ask for anything in return. They didn't want to get wounded. And they've been wounded in combat, and now they're back on the block. They can't serve their country in a lot of cases anymore due to the nature of their wounds. And so all of this activity, especially the connectedness, okay, is what's so powerful, in my opinion. I mean, that's what I see. I mean, it's a familiar voice. They know after they've dealt with you 1 or 2 times, what to expect. And I know there's a lot of intrepidation and anxiety that's associated with the unknown. And you probably deal with that, right?
Yep.
I mean, these guys are getting on a plane. I hate to fly. I think they mostly hate to fly. Mm-hmm. But you can't get from Tupelo, Mississippi to Bangor, Maine by bicycle. So you're going to fly. You could drive, but, that's a long drive. But so they got to get on a plane in a lot of cases. And so, anything we can do to reduce their anxiety and introduce some more predictability, the more comfortable they are. And you've probably seen that, right?
Absolutely.
That many of these heroes that you've dealt with in the past are much more comfortable today and probably better adjusted, wouldn't you say?
Oh, absolutely.
By the way, did you see? Have you seen any of the data that's come from? And it's a sidebar here, but have you seen any of the data that's come from the survey that we're doing?
No, haven't.
We haven't shared that with you. Yeah. Well, we asked Dr. Keith Tidball to give, my sister and I did, to give us a snapshot. So, but we're doing our own data collection for the first time. Yeah, okay, I'll say that for the first time in this way anyway. We don't ask much for the heroes, but we are through Cornell University, which is quite a prestigious university, and Dr. Keith Tidball, who is our science advisor, is working with and through the University of Cornell that he works for, an extension. And we've got a survey out there. The heroes take before. Is it before and after?
No, just
after. Okay, mm-hmm. So they take the survey after an event, and we're collecting data. And I wanted to, and I said we've been doing this for like 8 months now, something like that.
Yeah.
So I wanted to. I just was curious. Like 8 months worth of data is a lot of data, and they want to run this thing for 2 years. I'm like, oh god, my eyeballs are gonna bleed. But all right, I'll play your game. And I'll cooperate. But anyway, so can we just look at the data, kind of preliminarily without telling the world what we're finding out about our operations and how helpful or not they are to our combat wounded in terms of their recovery, in terms of wellness and this kind of thing. And the data is really impressive. I mean, it's overwhelmingly positive in all aspects. And to put a number on it, it varies between 75 and 80% positive in terms of the positive effects of what we're doing in terms of healing and through our program. So I just wanted to quick share that. And I said, Keith, I said, I'm not a scientist or anything, maybe I slept at a Holiday Inn or two in my life, but this data to me looks like it's very encouraging, and he agreed with that. So anyway, we appreciate your help with that.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So what's your most favorite thing about your job? What's your...
Talking to the heroes.
That's it?
Yeah. Yeah. It's, like I said, it's going through the years with them, and it's kind of like what you were talking about, getting on a plane. It's not just getting on a plane, it's meeting new people, and maybe even getting back with some of those, battle buddies that they haven't been in contact with in 10 years, or they haven't been around that part again. They get nervous. And seeing a guy go for the first time or tell me no I had a guy tell me no for 12 years. 12 years. He signed up, but he just never could do it. And he finally went on an event last month.
What's his first name?
And
do you remember?
I'd just rather not say.
All right.
That's okay. But he went and he had a great time. And he came back and he said, I can't believe I haven't done this. I can't believe I didn't do this before. And so it's so great just to, like I said, they get over that. They get with the guide, they get with the hosts, they get with the communities, and they see that, this is a wonderful thing, and then we get to serve them again. And then, like I said, the next time I call, it's, hey, Corrina, how you doing? But it's not just that, I get phone calls out of the blue, just calling, asking me how I'm doing. I get Happy Mother's Day from probably 5 of my Vietnam veterans send me a Happy Mother's Day
that's great.
Post or text every year. It's just really nice to make those connections for me as well as them. So it's good. And when I'm having a bad day and I think, man, this job is too much, because there's days, how it is. Yeah. And then I'll get that one phone call, that is just the guy who told him that Wounded Warriors in Action saved his life, or, I couldn't have gone through this if I hadn't, have done this. It's just an amazing feeling. And then everything is like, oh, no, I love this job. It's great.
Yeah, and you need a refresher every now and again, or the ability to unplug and just to step back from it all, and I know, because it can get frustrating, like waiting for somebody to call you back or just. I got to tell you, like I cannot stand the worst part of that job, and like I said, I did it. You've been here for 10 years. So for the first 6 years, I was dialing for dollars. Okay, and the thing that of course, I had help too. I mean, my assistant, whoever it was at the time, would do a lot of I would say a lot. Some of the work by like maybe booking the airline tickets. This is all before we had, Hero Miles and all of this too. So like the worst part of that job from my perspective was actually buying the tickets and making the accommodations, because I can't stand the wait. I hate it. Like if you put me on hold or I listen to music or just getting to talk to a person or the click, click, click on the computer, that stuff, I mean, I can do it, okay, but I choose not to, and I really am not good at it, and it drives me insane, but just getting it, if like I made a decision, he said, yes, can we just make it happen? I just want to wave my hand and go, just make it happen. I don't want to be the guy that has to, listen to the COVID tape and, do all this crap, oh my God, it's so brutal just to to get an airline ticket booked today. It's just I don't know how you do it.
It's funny that you say that because I love logistics.
Oh God.
Because I'm a planner, right?
Yeah.
I love the planning. I love it when it all comes together and you can put it on a piece of paper and say, this is what you're doing.
Oh, because you have a boss who's a jerk. And I want the smile on your face. I wish you could see that. Most of you guys don't know that Corrina has a boss who's a real jerk. And he's particular about things. This guy, I'm telling you, sometimes. And so we have this thing called an operations order. She just raised her eyebrows at me. We have this thing called an operations order that the folks that don't know, in the military, in the Army, and I'm pretty sure in the Marine Corps, I've probably crossed the joint forces now. They do operations orders. They're not suggestions. You see, when you're wearing a uniform and somebody tells you what to do, it's in an order, and you got to go do it, right? I mean, as long as it's a lawful order. And so, an operations order, the 5-paragraph operations order, is a way to communicate that. Okay, it's situation, mission, execution, service and support. Are the basic components of and communications. The last piece, the 5th piece, are the basic components of an operations order. But what is it doing? It's communicating, right? It's expressing a commander's intent. It's giving you the mission, who, what, where, when, and why. It tells you all the people that are important on there and how to get a hold of them. And so logistically, how is it being supported? And paragraph 3, execution, how are we doing it? Day by day, how are we doing this? And so we use the operations order as our medium to communicate to the heroes. So, it's like I say, it's like making sausage, right? If you saw what went into it, you probably won't want to eat it, right? It's the process over to the product. And you and I have gone round and round and round over the years. And now today, some 10 years into it, our operations order is about as damn near as perfect as it can get. I really like it. And you've helped, you've suffered through it with me. And I appreciate that. I never say that, you probably could talk for days about that, but we've been through it and it's great. And I'm proud of it. Yeah. I'm really proud of it. And see, it's got my signature on it. So anything that's got my signature on it's my stamp, my Jumpmaster stamp of approval. So I'm really particular about it. I want it, and it's an operations order. And in my former world as an infantry officer, the operations order, you lived and died by it. Hopefully you didn't die by it, but these are things that were, every word had meaning. It had to be concise. It had to be, the intent had to be loose enough, if you will, but concise enough to give people freedom of action. And I think our operations order is that we write one for every single mission that we do. Is a great, and I think the heroes like it too.
I think so.
I hear it all the time. Hey, I'm going on a mission, And so the operations order sort of brings together all of this. I mean, the communications that you've had with the host, the heroes, me, the staff, everybody, and sometimes the community members and things that is encapsulated into this operations order that gets sent out to all the heroes that are going on the trip on this event, like about a month before, a couple weeks before, well in advance of the actual operation. It gets sent out, and the heroes receive it, and they go, wow, it's a 5-paragraph operations order. Pretty cool, I mean, it tells you everything you want to know about where you're going and what you're going to go do, pretty much, right? And that's another way of us communicating to them, that we're a professional organization. And I think it reduces stress because you can say, well, what am I going to, here are the guys on the trip. Here's the host. Here are the numbers. Here's the mission. And day by day, what we're going to do. And, and so I wanted to publicly thank you for, suffering your way through that, through hard years. But you've done an amazing job helping, shape that very, very important document. And I appreciate it. So let's talk about the host and that side, the logistics side. What do we have this year, 2022? We have something like 40 some odd missions?
49.
49. Call it 50. Okay. 50 missions across the country, world-class outdoor sporting operations, activities for our nation's combat wounded. And you're, as the logistics, coordinator, you're communicating with every single host. You're doing detailed and finite planning along with them to understand what's going to happen once the heroes arrive. And then the mission goes down and the heroes go home, and then you do a series of follow-up activities, right?
Correct.
Tell me about that.
So, yeah, after the event's over, we do a hot wash with the host and with our WWIA guide that goes with them. And we talk about what happened that was good, what happened that was bad, how we can make it better. If they're doing something that works really, really well, it's something I bring up to other hosts. So all of our events started out, they all have their own pieces and their own goods and bads, but as the years go by, they're becoming more and more the same because we're starting to do things, best practices. We're seeing them, and then we can go to the next host and say, hey, they do this and it works really well. And then they try it. And so our events, are becoming more the same in how they are, which is, it's also nice for the heroes. Like you were talking about the op-ord, it takes out some of the anxiety, some of that angst about going somewhere they don't know when they have that op-ord. And it's the same when they're going on an event, when they go on one and then they get to go on another one and they're like, okay, that's kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
Right. So it kind of takes away a little bit of that pressure of something new. So. Yeah.
Well, in business and in life too. I mean, part of the successful equation is the repeatable process that works. What is the successful repeatable process? Whether you're creating a widget, stamping out widgets, or providing world-class outdoor sporting activities for nation's Purple Heart recipients, there's a formula. I mean, why is it that the McDonald's fries in Hong Kong taste the same as they do in Brandon, Florida? Why do you think that is? You think that's an accident? It's not. McDonald's is buying potatoes, believe it or not, from Idaho with a very specific gravity, or they don't buy them. And oh, by the way, there's a when those fries get cut, they're all cut from the same machines. Their size and shape are the same. They've got an SOP for how hot the oil should be. There's a timer for how long they should be in there. And then they come out and they go into a basket, and then I think they sit there for a little while, and then they get salt, and then they get shoved in the container. But they're doing it the same way in Hong Kong as they are in Tupelo, Mississippi. Because it's a successful, repeatable process, right? I'm not saying we're McDonald's and we're not stamping out widgets here,
Well, and every event is different. Every host puts their own spin on everything. We have incredible hosts. I mean, that has to be the first thing if you want to talk about hosts. They're all volunteers. Obviously, that, and they do it because they love it. They do it because they want to. They're not getting anything out of it. There's not, it's just they're serving their nation's wounded, combat wounded, and they love it. So every event's a little different. They all have their own little spin, their own little special thing that makes it theirs.
And the other thing is, and we're gonna have some hosts on here. Eventually, this is in our podcast series. We'll get into that space as well. But I've tried to, the way I've tried to, when I think of the hosts. Because I'm the original host, right? I mean, Camp Hackett is the original mission set. I've been the guy who started, doing it first. And then, when other people said, hey, I want to help you. I know what you're doing. I want to help. I was like, okay, well, here's kind of what I do. And, that's how it all started, right? But like coming from a 20-year military career, I mean, it's going to sound ridiculous, but, I used to hate it when people told me what to do. Like, can you really imagine being an infantry officer? And they hate when people tell you what to do. I hate it. That's why I got out at 20 years. I'm like, I had enough of people telling me what to do. I mean, so like when I'm doing operations, I don't want, like at Camp Hackett, nobody tells me what to do because it's my show. And I respect that. And I'm thinking like the hosts are kind of like doing their own thing within my guidance or the foundation's guidance and our formula that they're very well aware of now, but we allow them to, nobody's cranking down on their screws, right? I mean, it's a sort of autonomous operation, it's centrally planned and decentralized execution, right? And we're allowing them to express their gratitude in a way that they're comfortable with. Some people have high community involvement. Some people don't, right? Yeah. And so, I think that's part of the beauty of it. So if you're interested, oh, by the way, if you're listening to this, we're looking to put on some more operations. So I thought we were just talking about that, weren't we? Yep. So I got to plug it right here, okay? So if you're interested in hosting a world-class outdoor sporting activity for one of our for the WWIA, there's ways you can get involved, and we'd encourage you to get a hold of us. Well, how do they want to do that? Info at?
They can go to info@wwiaf.org.
Yeah, send us an email, info@wwiaf.org, and tell us you're interested, and we'll get you moving. But we're at a stage, I think, in 16 years into it, we're at a stage. At one point, we almost had 60 operations. We had
65 at one point.
Oh my God. Yeah. We had 65 operations annually going on at the zenith, but this is all before the pandemic, and we've cut back to 50. So I want to say we lost 15. Things come and go. It's okay. It's all good. I mean, I think the foundation's stronger than it ever has been. And we're very, very proud of that. But we could use a few more operations only because our population's grown. And we have the capacity to do, a little bit more, right? Without causing us, to go into anaphylactic shock. By the way, what is anaphylactic shock? What is that? I say it, and I don't even know what it means.
It's something you don't want to do.
All right. I know it's bad, so that's why I say it. But anyway, so we digress. So tell us a little bit, and you mentioned the host, and I'm going to give a shout out because if any of you wonderful Americans are hosts, we call them hosts, right? We have, like Corrina said, we have, and call it 50 now, and at one point we had 65 annually. Outdoor sporting activities. All of them, by the way, are volunteers. Like they all found us. Like I didn't call anybody. I didn't pick up the phone. I didn't go on the internet. I didn't do any of that. Every single one of these great Americans and their communities has volunteered for this assignment. And I think that they would refer to that as organic growth, right? It'd be one thing if I was picking up the phone going, hey, dude, I know you got this great property with monster whitetails on it. Do you think you could help us out? That doesn't happen. It never has, and it never will. And so it's part of the strength of the organization is the fact that these people, great Americans, our hosts, have found us either by word of mouth or the internet or whatever, but they took that first step, right? That's so important. It's like, people that have, that have issues that they need to, personal issues or struggles, the first thing, that I've heard this, they say, my name is, Frank Smith and I'm an alcoholic. That's what happens at AA meetings. Apparently I've seen this on TV, but the point of that is that people have to acknowledge that there's something wrong, right? It's the same concept with these wonderful hosts. They are stepping forward and saying they want to help. It's way different than us asking them if they would help our heroes. So if your organization is comprised of operations, world-class outdoor sporting operations in this case, that are being devised, hosted, and supported by people who are volunteering to do it versus people you're paying or asked, that's a foundation, and that's what I hoped would happen, or over the years, and certainly has. So thank you to all you great Americans out there who are helping this mission happen. You're changing lives. You're in some cases saving lives, and it's very, very meaningful work. And I want to thank you for all the great things that you've done. So any particular stories stick out in your mind that you want to share with us about, what's happened in the 10 years? I mean, is there any one particular story or something you want to share with us that might be of interest?
I'll call one out because it's a fun one. It's my favorite WWI guide now, John Keeney. So I'll call him out. But I remember, and this was, I don't know, 6, 7, maybe longer ago, years ago, we used to have a gator hunt that we did. And I called one of his buddies, Randy, and said, hey, you want to do this gator hunt? And he said, yeah, that'll be cool. And he said, hey, could you get my friend John on this event too? And I said, sure, no problem. So I called John and he said, no, I'm not really injured that bad. There's guys worse off than me. Let somebody else have it. And I said, no, you don't understand. This is for you. No. So he didn't go. We had another event come up. I called him and said, hey, you want to do this event? And he goes, no, I'm sure there's someone else that needs it more than me. We went through this for probably a year and a half of him saying he didn't want to do it. Finally, we just chatted for a while. And I said, you know what? I need guys like you to lead guys that, have these issues that they're going through. I need you to be the guy helping me instead of, just a hero. And I said, so what do you say you go out on an event, see how it goes, and then see if maybe you want to help? And he's like, oh, I can do that. And so he went on an event, and I honestly don't remember what it was. It was with Jake Whipke. And Jake came back and said, that guy's a rock star.
It was Mocan. It was Mocan because I got the call from Jake. Yeah. While he was at Mocan, like probably day 1 or 2, John had already positively influenced and impacted Jake, who, is our longest standing, guides, probably got more experience than all of them for sure. But so Jake's like, yeah, there's a guy here that you got to meet. Yeah. And I'm like, oh yeah. He goes, yeah, he was a baseball player. He was a, football player. He, blah, 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 blah. He loves the outdoors. He's a Marine. You're going to love him. I'm like, okay. I remember.
Yeah. Yeah. And I knew it. I mean, when Jake called, I wasn't surprised because he's a rock star. I knew it. And he's so selfless. He cares so much about the heroes and helping and being a positive influence. Not only has he thanked the foundation and thanked me for, believing in him and helping him get to that place, but his wife has even thanked the foundation and said what a different person he is now.
It's an amazing team.
How it's changed their lives. So it's pretty awesome. And then of course now he's brought people, into the fold as well. So
he's our secretary. He's on the board. He is
on the board now.
Yeah. John's great. He's a Marine. We'll forgive him for that. We did the Montel Williams show, and Montel Williams is a former Marine, talk show host. And they came in here, the balancing act, and they said they were going to do this thing. And so, okay, well, let's get John on here. So John and I went fishing, and then the balancing act showed up, and we had John on camera. And of course, it was great. John said to me before we went fishing, he said, one of the things on my bucket list is to catch a redfish. And I was like, well, we're taking that off your list, man. Today. I don't think he believed me, but we did. And John Keeney's just great people. So he's a combat wounded Purple Heart recipient, former Marine. And he's on the Honor Connect Heal video that we did with Bob Wheeler that won the Telly Award. So John's great people. And anyway, I interrupted your story. Was there more to that?
No, it's that.
That's it?
That's my story. I have so many stories. There's so many people that...
He's a crayon eater.
But he is a crayon eater. When he went to guide school, when we didn't meet till probably 5 years after he became a guide because he just couldn't get to guide school. Yeah. And he finally went to guide school, and I did bring crayons. So.
That's funny. I say that affectionately, John. I know you're listening. But that's what the Marines all call each other, is crayon eaters. It's just so funny. It just makes you laugh. Anyway, let's talk about the guides for a second. And I just want people to, and we've used a lot of terms here, with lots of things that are, part of our lexicon, if you will, that people might not understand. But, we have guides, okay? So I'll set this up. I want to say probably, 6 years ago, 7, 8 years ago, we did the first guide school?
It's 2016.
16. Okay.
Is that right? Yeah.
So 6. Yeah, 6 years ago. That makes sense. 6 years ago, we started this used to be pretty much just me running around with, 1 or 2 guys. And then it became 3 or 4 guys, people that I'd met like Jake and Tim and Gabe, and I don't want to leave anybody out, but there was a handful of these Purple Heart recipients that I met on these missions. And I was for the first 10 years, I was going on, majority of the missions. That's how I met you, on a mission in Washington, and you were a host. And so, anyway, in that 10-year period, I think I hand selected, maybe 8. That's just, 8 or there's 8 or so, 8, maybe 10. I don't know, something like that. These heroes that really stuck out in my mind as being, superior men that had a great heart and a desire to help their fellow combat wounded, and were solid sportsmen. And we talk about high EQ and high IQ. Well, these guys, have both. They're intelligent people who have great people skills and are very self-aware. And I've seen it. I've worked lots of rooms, lots of crowds, lots of dynamic. You talk about dynamic situation here. You got these hosts in the community that have been anticipating and planning for this thing for months, if not years. These heroes that are flown in from all over the country, who, are in new environments. They're all amped up, Then you got, John McDaniel there. And so, there's all kinds of stuff happening in that space. And I needed, it became very apparent to me that I was like, you know what? I just can't do this forever. And this is way too much about me. There's way too much focus on me. I rock up to an event, and the hosts spend too much time, focusing on, I don't want to say too much time focusing on me, but it just seemed like I was as our operations would mature, I felt like I was more and more of a detractor to the mission than I was helping. At first, getting them going, got it. Hey, it's important, So their boss is in the field. The boss is here. He's doing his stuff. But I thought to myself, it's got to be way more powerful to have these heroes, select heroes, doing what I do, integrating well with the team, interacting with the heroes, from a sympathetic perspective and also from a leadership perspective. These guys are friends. They're like brothers. They're like, in some cases, maybe dads, you name it, buddies, etc. But that was the idea, is to find a group of these Purple Heart recipients, a select group, and then put them through a guide school. So that's what we did. We did, came up with this, 10-day guide school, and we're not going to talk about that. That might be a whole new episode or another episode, but we had a professional 10-day guide school, put these guys through these course, certify them, and then, put them out in the field. And that's who you deal with the most of the time. We have a slating. We run the slate past me saying these guys are going to do these events, and every one of these guys is doing 3, 4 maybe events a year, something like that. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And they have families and jobs in a lot of cases, and their lives are as busy as anybody else's, I suppose. But anyway, tell me about your relationship with, just pick John out, but tell me about your relationship. It's pretty special, right?
It's amazing. Yeah. These guys and gals,
yes.
We also have a female
Crystal, that's right.
guide. But we have about 23 of them. They're handpicked by the other guides.
Yep.
So this is their team. They create it. And these are just exceptional individuals, every single one of them. You were saying earlier, we have 1,500 people in our database, but we have 23 guides.
That's right.
So this is
in 16 years, we've found 23 that meet the cut. That's a thin slice.
It is. But what it gives us is just a superior, a person to fill that role. Because they're the guy they're calling the hero for the first time. They're boots on the ground. They're the guy that that they see for the first time. They're the guy that's making them comfortable before they ever get on the airplane. Yeah. So it just takes a really special person to do that. Yeah. And I feel like all 23 of them are my brothers, mostly. Yeah. Crystal's my little sister, but I do, and I feel like any of those guys would, man, if someone ever did me wrong, you'd be careful for the John Keeneys and Jake Whipkeys of the world, because they're coming to Idaho. Oh yeah. But they really are. They're family to me, and I love every one of them, and I love working with them and talking with them, and
that's pretty special.
Yeah.
Yeah. I when I was thinking about this, how are we going to do this? How do we move this model? Probably 10 years ago, I was thinking about this. And then, 6 years ago, we had our first guide school, and 7 years ago, we asked for funding support, for that, from various entities. And so once it became funded and, sort of approved, and it was like reality, like, we're going to do this. You were there, you've been at every guide school. We do it every other year. And you get to thinking about what a thin slice it is. 1,500 heroes in the database. We've touched all these lives, and we've selected 23 people. And the first 10 I'll take credit for. I personally, put my personal stamp of approval on the first 10. But then I told the guides, and I told them at every guide school thereafter, I said, I'm not going to be in the field and going on all these missions anymore. I can't. At the height of the madness, I was on the road 42 weeks out of the year. It's ridiculous. You can't have a life like that. And I was getting burned out. I'm like, this is not good. So what am I going to do? How are we going to fix this? Then guide school. That's where the idea came from. And I just knew it would be much more powerful if we had them leading their peers. And, there's in the special operations community, and I won't mention any organizational names or anything, but there are units out there where you might make all the qualifications. You pass the psych eval, you do all the physical things, they put you through all this, that, and the other thing, and you've made it, or so you think you've made it. And then it comes time for the interview, and they go, you're just not what we're looking for. You're like, holy crap, what do you mean? I scored 100 on the PT test, blah, blah, blah. Well, we're just, we're not interested right now, thank you. And you're like, oh, what? The point of the matter is that, these men now and women that are leading the organization are self-selected, like you said. So, if you're going to get on this team, you don't have to impress me, right? Ultimately, I guess you do. But if you want to get on this team and be a guide, it starts with being a good person, putting others' needs ahead of your own, and being, selfless, being a hard worker, and being a nice person, right? Is there anything else in there that I've missed?
Not really.
That's kind of that. You got to have a lot of hua and more dua. It's anyway. So yeah, that's pretty cool. All right, so here's we're going to wrap this thing up here in a second. But is there? We're fishing tomorrow, by the way, and it's supposed to look. It's raining. Pouring. It's pouring. I looked at the weather forecast. I'm like, yeah, perfect. It's going to rain tomorrow. There's a 40% chance. We'll see, but we'll go out there and have some fun. My skiff's all tuned up. We'll go out and catch some bait. And you've never even fished in the saltwater, have you? Or you have, but not here in Florida. Deep fishing, drop. Yeah,
not any other salt. No.
Yeah. So we're not doing that. I'm a backcountry shallow water guy. So we might have to go out in the deep water to try to scare up some bait, But the majority of our fishing is going to be in the inshore, near shore, shallow water for snook, redfish, trout, maybe some sharks, sort of thing. Have some fun, but. What I wanted to say, what I wanted to give you the opportunity is there anything that you want to share with everybody about anything at all? And we haven't talked about, your personal life or anything like that. I think we'll just keep that out. I don't know what the value of that is. I don't talk about my personal life either, but is there anything that you'd like to share with us or the audience that's out there?
I think we've pretty much covered everything. I'm really happy to have been here for 10 years and I know you told me June of 2012, I did my first event. You came out to it. And I remember distinctly you taking me outside by myself and you shook my hand and you put a challenge coin in my hand. And you said, people with servants' hearts are rewarded. Wow. And I didn't really understand what you meant at the time, but I'll never forget you saying that. I was just like, okay, cool. I like to serve. I like to help. Yeah. And here it is 10 years later.
Look at you now, in full bloom.
And I absolutely love what I do and how many people get to say that. So,
well, that's true.
I really appreciate you and I appreciate the foundation and everything that you've given me and done for me over the years. So,
well, it's easy, okay, when you're around such high quality people. And I always say it's not what I have to say about the organization that matters. It's what they have to say. It's what the heroes have to say, because they're our client. And so when the heroes tell me about great people like you, and I hear it a lot, it might be one thing if I only hear it one time. But, there's patterns of it and have been for years. And that means that you're doing great, and you really are. So, I certainly do appreciate everything that you've done, and I know they do. And it's, what I have to say might be important, but what they have to say is more important because they're the recipients of our work and our philanthropic acts. So it's been a pleasure to have you here. I know you were really concerned about this. It wasn't so bad, right?
No, it was good.
It's not bad. So anyway, we appreciate your support, everybody that's out there. This was our podcast with Corrina Hart at the WWIA headquarters. And it is the 9th of June, 2022. Thank you very much.
To learn more about the mission of the Wounded Warriors in Action Foundation and how you can get involved, please visit our website at WWIAF.org or follow our social media pages on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn. Thank you for listening to the WWIA Podcast and for helping us honor, connect, and heal our combat wounded Purple Heart heroes through the power of the great outdoors.
If you like what you're listening to here and would like to join our team in our mission to bring healing power and recovery to America's Purple Heart heroes, please become part of our Sponsor a Hero team by clicking on the link in the podcast notes or by going to WWIAF.org/sponsor. That's WWIAF.org/sponsor. Our heroes need you now more than ever. Thank you.